All right, in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how we can explore the use of fonts in other designs. I'm looking at my self-introduction page, and I've listed a number of websites here that are my favorite websites and my most used websites and all that. We're going to take a look at one. Let's see, we'll take a look at Reddit, and we're going to see if we can figure out how to um, how to find out what fonts are being used on Reddit. Um, here's a lot of text, and and there's certain style of font. It's kind of a easy to read sans serif font, but there's some style in there. Actually, is it sans serif? I see some serif. Yeah, it's kind of a hybrid. It's mostly a sans serif font, but it has some styling that makes it seem a little bit has a little bit more personality than a sans serif font. But it's not a serif font. So here's how we're gonna check it out. I'm in the Firefox web browser, but any web browser uh, will let you do this. We're going to look at the source code of the website that we're visiting. We're going to look through the code and see how many fonts we can identify. I'm going to show you a very basic way of looking at source code. There's a number of different ways we can examine the source code that's showing up in our browser. But as an introduction, we're going to just view source. So I'm going to look for any kind of empty part of my web page. Could be kind of anywhere, but anything that's not clickable. And then in that non-clickable area, I'm going to right-click. And in Firefox, I have an options drop-down. And one of them is view source. This one's not working. Okay. I noticed that if I go over here, it's working now. View page source. All right. So I'm looking at the source code. So when we're in CodePen, for instance, and we're writing code on in this side, and it's showing up here, this is showing us the web page and then the code that's been used to make the web page. Well, when we're on the web, clicking on things and visiting websites, we're seeing the end result of some code. But we can always look at that code because the browser needs that code in order to produce this page. So we can just ask the browser, show us what you're looking at. So this is the code that was used to create this web page, the home page of Reddit. And you will see some tags, HTML, CSS, and some other stuff too. A lot of other stuff, in fact. A whole lot of other stuff. Look at all this. There are 734 lines of code on this web page. I see that because here on the left side, in my source code viewer, is a line count. But you'll see some tags here. The image tag you're familiar with. Here's a div tag. We've done div tags. A lot of code. What we're going to do is go back to the top, and we're going to look for any code that's been used to define the fonts. And mainly on this website, I'm going to look in this style tag, which is located somewhere up at the top. The style tag is a what's known as a style sheet. CSS style sheet. It's containing all the CSS styles that are being used on this page. We're going to be learning how to write our own style sheet, but for starters, as an introduction to this concept, we're going to be looking at some style sheets and looking through them and seeing how they are used to define font styles. So here's my style tag, and I'm just going to look for any properties, CSS properties that I have learned how to use, like font size, font family, text align, that kind of thing, to better understand how this page is being designed. So here, right away, I see that there's font family, Benton Sans, and sans serif. So this is a font declaration. So I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to create a new pen. This is my font scavenger hunt of Reddit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this whole chunk out. Body, these curly brackets, and then all that stuff in there. And I'm just going to make a note of it right here. And maybe what I'll do is I'll put this in an LI tag. An LI tag is a line item, and it's going to group this. I don't have to do this, but I'm just going to do this. This is not necessary. For you, I'm just going to do this so I can actually stack a whole bunch on here and that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to start an unordered list. So I'm going to use an UL tag. And in this UL tag, I'm going to put all the results of my scavenger hunt here. I'm going to put them all in this LI tag, and the LI creates this bullet. It's going to make a nice list. So I'm just going to look around for anything that I recognize as relating to text and fonts and styling fonts. So I'm looking for those. Here's one. It's font family. So I'm going to grab this. And I'll put an LI tag, and I'll drop this in. And look, it's doing this. Listing it for me with a bullet. Just going to look around. Here's another one. Font family Noto Sans Arial Sans Serif. Now, there's a ton of code here on the Reddit page, and I'm not expecting you to go look through every line of code and get lost, but just this act of looking around, I actually see a lot here. I might grab some of this stuff just because it might be interesting to. You see here's font size, font weight, line height. So here's a lot of stuff that we're learning about. I'm just going to grab that line. And add it to my list. The more you find, the more successful your scavenger hunt. If you don't want to go look at all the code, that's fine with me, no big deal. But at least go into the source code and look for something, come away with something. Like this is just quite a lot here. So I'm just going to look for something that maybe is a little bit different. Here's something. Text decoration underline. I'll grab that. All right. So I've found 5 things, and I feel pretty good about that. Some of this stuff I'm not even looking at, but Oh, actually, if I look closely, I've grabbed more than 5 things. How do I know? Well, I'm looking for these curly brackets. The curly brackets start and end indicate the content of a rule. So that's why this is useful. If I do this, get all this on one line. So here's a curly bracket. Starts here, boom, 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 and it ends here. Okay, so that's one rule. Here's another curly bracket. It starts here, but it ends here. Here's the start of a curly bracket, and it ends here. So I actually picked up a bunch of rules here. Ooh, look at all this. Look for these curly brackets. They will help you recognize the different rules. Every rule gets a set of these curly brackets, open, close, but no more than one set. Excuse me. So what I've got here actually is, there's one. I just added a couple rules here. And some of them are not relevant for my font scavenger hunt. Those don't have anything to do with anything, so I'll take them out. This one does because it's setting text color to hashtag FFF, which is white, so I'll leave that in. And here, this one, which is the one I saw, was setting text decoration to underline. So I picked up a couple more items for my scavenger hunt. So this is how to do the font scavenger hunt. Go look at the page or pages of your favorite or most used websites. Look at the source code and look for any CSS information that relates to fonts. Copy them in here. Okay? It's your first stab at looking at source code and looking for something specific in the source code. All right, have fun with a scavenger hunt.